if you could focus 100% on real estate and none on your financials, how much would you grow? 200, 300%,
Hard to
right?
say. Yeah.
Sky's the limit, right? And it's not just providing capital, it's taking your investor relations, like basically you'd convert your whole financial arm into acquisitions and asset management, right?
Right.
So there are companies that have been built with the same thought process in the beginning. They actually they don't even have systems built out to accept investors.
Welcome to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate Show. Whether you are an active or passive investor, we'll teach you how to scale your real estate investing business into something big.
Pranay Parikh is a medical doctor, serial entrepreneur, and podcast host. Over the past 16 months, he's bought over $200 million in real estate while practicing medicine full-time. Pranay, welcome to the show.
Sam, thanks for having me. Super excited to chat.
Absolutely, as am I. Pranay, there are 3 questions I ask every guest who comes on the show. In 90 seconds or less, can you tell me, where did you start? Where are you now? And how did you get there?
Yeah, so I started in the Bay Area, born and raised, went to school at UCSD and then medical school and trained at USC for residency. So kind of born and raised and lived in California, but I've lived all over. I practiced medicine, but I realized that I always needed to do something with my money to be smart. I got into real estate. I realized that active real estate, it's a lot of work, and I don't want a second job. So that's when I found passive real estate. I realized that there wasn't any good resources for an LP, for an investor. So we created a course. We've had thousands of people take it. But after graduating our course, most people said, actually now after I'm learning all this stuff, I don't have time for this either. And can we just invest in the same deals you do? Maybe we can come together, get better terms, better bargaining power. And that's how Ascent Equity Group got created.
Wow. Okay. I like that. So let me just clarify then. You're not an active sponsor. You pool money from your investor network and you guys come in as one single check investor into deals. Is that about the sum of it?
Correct. But the way we come in is unique. So we come in as JV equity. So that's how, Blackstone, Goldman Sachs, they don't have, their people in nice suits walk around on the property doing maintenance and leasing stuff. They partner with boots on the ground. And what they do is they bring in operational efficiency. So we actually have a full asset management team and we could take over if needed. But instead, because someone else is focusing on leases, maintenance, all the stuff that's super important, but doesn't move the needle in profit, we're really focused on how do we maximize profit. And because we work with sponsors all over the US, different property managers, we are able to pick and choose what works and implement it everywhere.
Tell me about the JV equity process. This is not anything I have personal experience in, so I may not even know the right questions to ask necessarily. But can you give me kind of the breakdown of the way the deals are structured, basic terms that we should normally look for, or that you, of course, you can structure anything you want, but maybe the way you guys do business. If you don't mind giving us kind of the backstory on that, I'd love that.
Yeah. So JV equity means we bring in 80 to 97.5% of the equity. So pretty much all the money in the deal.
Right.
And that comes with some rights, often called major decision rights. And, it varies on each deal, but we can tell them to buy, to sell. We can change the name of the property if we want. Basically, we have investor override for any and pretty much every decision. We get to approve the budget, which is a big deal. We get to determine what capital calls happen and when they happen and who's responsible for them. So it gives us a lot of power, and we're able to do that because we're bringing in pretty much all the money. So the question is, why would the sponsor want to give up that and give up some of their promote?
Right.
But that's because not only do we bring in all the money, we handle investor relations. We have a vendor network that's nationwide because we work with so many people. We have a full asset management team. We're on the phone for each of our properties with property management every week. Some of our operators weren't doing that and they had to set it up for us, but we're like, we don't care. It's really important for us to find things that are going wrong immediately, and we're able to go in and a lot of times increase occupancy even better than some of the sponsors are, and that's because they're busy with focusing on the day-to-day stuff. I'm not saying that we're better than the sponsors, but we work in hand and we are able to focus on different things, So because of that, they give us these rights, and they also let us pick their best deals. So an example of a deal that we closed on in August 2022. So, 2 months ago, right. It was the debt on it was 2.9% fixed for 9 years. That's a deal that anyone would kill for. It was a loan assumption, but it was brought to us because we bring so much value to the sponsors, and we're able to pass a lot of that value on to our investors.
This is a robust system that you've built. And correct me if I'm wrong, going through your bio here, $200 billion in the last 16 months. Has this all been in the last 16 months that you've built this?
Yeah, it's kind of like celebrities. You're like, I'm an overnight celebrity. It's 10 years in the making. Right. So, you could say it started when I went to medical school, right? I have that shared background with a lot of people, and a lot of people trust doctors, and a lot of doctors trust other doctors. So, right. We're cheating in a way because my business partner, I have two, Myth Jacob Bargassian and Peter Kim. Peter Kim created this brand and media company called Passive Income MD, and we do, which I also help him with, but conferences, there's a blog, there's a podcast, hundreds of thousands of, the list is 50,000 doctors on it. Wow. So, we started with that, and it doesn't carry over, right? Our list is a fraction of what his list is, but, that name brand recognition helped us a ton. So we get a lot of free publicity just because him and I are both associated with the other company. So yeah, it seems like we did a lot, and we did, it's not to belittle the stuff we did, but we had a really great foundation. And I'd actually recommend to your audience, like build something of value that you're providing for free long before you need to ask them for anything, and they'll go with you everywhere. We've done a course, we've done conferences, now we're doing masterminds, we've done podcasts, now we do this. Like they'll go with you because they know you, they trust you, they like you.
Bringing in and having the framework to bring 97% of the equity, or up to 97.5% of it, and then knowing even what rights to ask for along the way, or how to negotiate those properly with the right sponsors. That sounds like years of just kind of in the trenches work to develop that sense of what those things should even be. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, in the beginning, we realized that we didn't know a ton. We knew a lot about passive real estate. We knew how to look at deals, how to vet them, but we didn't know how to set up a structure, right? LLC, all that stuff. Right. So we asked around who's the best and the most expensive lawyer around, and we triangulated who was the best. Everyone said this one person. We're like, okay, how much do you let's do it. Like, I don't care how much it costs. Let's just do it, right? And our legal fees are $20,000 to $50,000 per deal.
Wow.
Per deal. Yeah. But you pay for more than just the legal fees. You pay for protection, you pay for contacts. When you are connected to this firm that is well known in the industry, it gives you a lot of credibility, right? That they took you on as a client. It's not that they'll take anyone, right? They had faith in us, and now that we're a client of theirs, they have a ton of other clients, and they've referred us a ton of business, and it just gives us that automatic, like, hey, you guys use these guys, like, you guys must be pretty legit. Like, you guys aren't some small company that's like group of people, because it is like if you're in some other field, like, oh, these doctors are playing real estate, but no, we've been doing it, and now we're actually one of the biggest in the area that are doing what we do, and probably the biggest non-institutional JV players.
How do you find a sponsor I mean, at this stage, let's use me, for example, put myself in the spotlight. Like, we're raising our own capital, we're doing our own deals. It would be a unique and very strange shift in our business model to say, all right, well, okay, so all of our investor group, thanks, now we're going to work exclusively with you. So how do you find the sponsor that is in need of 97.5% equity with the right track record?
So there are many companies. I mean, let me ask you, Sam. If you could focus 100% on real estate and none on your financials, how much would you grow? 200, 300%? Right?
Hard to say, yeah.
Sky's the limit, right? And it's not just providing capital, it's taking your investor relations, like basically you'd convert your whole financial arm into acquisitions and asset management, right?
Right.
So there are companies that have been built with the same thought process in the beginning. They actually they don't even have systems built out to accept investors. Either they have been institutional from the beginning. So one of the sponsors we work with, we did a deal with them, and they were like, "Hey, you guys want to be co-GP on this next deal?" We're like, "Yeah, great." Yeah. And it was a $430 million deal with Goldman Sachs. And the co-GP was $20 million. I'm like, yeah, that's a little bit too much for us. But this group, they only do institutional plays other than with us. So they actually will show us a deal. And if we say no, they won't do the deal at all because it's too small for them. So it's a way for them to get exposure to different deals, different markets, and get diversification outside of institutional players.
What's it been like? I mean, I know you said you get to tap into the network that you and some of your partners already have, but what's it been like for you personally going out and raising large sums of money, being kind of, and I'm not going to say it newer because you're ahead of a lot of people in the game, but what was that, I guess, early part of your journey like going out and raising capital from other investors?
It is tough, even if you have a list of like 100,000 people. I actually think if the list is too big, you probably don't have a deep connection with many of them.
Right.
And I think an ideal list is a couple thousand that are pretty active. And our list, we were we were looking at this. We were gaining 10 people signing up for our list a month. Now we get that like a day or more. But in the starting, it was tough, just because we had a list of like 40,000 people that are our ideal audience. It doesn't mean that they're going to automatically go to everything we do. There is, they're more likely to, and the people that do come over, they're going to be a pretty hot lead, but it's not automatic. So, we realized that in the top, I was calling people, I was texting people, it's always like herding sheep, and doctors are even worse. They will wait till the last minute. Almost all of our deals will be oversubscribed by $1 million, and that's because at the very last day, people will be like, "Oh yeah, I thought I had more time,"
Right.
and they'll be like, "Oh, add me to the wait list. Where were you like 2 weeks ago?" And but they were working, like
Right.
Think about it. Doctor, like how do you get time to go wire to the bank? It's like totally understandable.
Right.
So it's tough. There's no, unless you're Brandon Turner, there's no way to just be like, "Oh, hey guys, this deal's open. Oh, it's closed. We're full."
We're full. Yeah, it is, man. Herding sheep. That's exactly it's exactly the way it is. And I don't know if that's different for any sponsors out there that are raising equity, where it's like, oh my gosh, okay, get in and get it done. Lots of people sign up, but the ones that finally wire the money are the ones that get in on the deal. So that's really interesting. One part of the conversation there I didn't actually get to hone in on was the terms. When you guys set up a JV equity deal with a sponsor, how are the terms different for you maybe than typical splits in a syndication?
So we're able to negotiate a lot more, right? So, we can get the maybe 80-20 or the 10-70-30 when someone else would get, like an 8-70-30. So plus also part of the promote comes to us, and we normally pass that to our investors. So, 15, 20, 25% will go to the investors. So our model is, there's a property level split and then our investor level split. So that's how we get paid to the investors. If the promote is large enough, some people will just take that, but we find the promote is not that big. So we just pass it to our investors.
When you say pass it to your investors, what do you mean by that? I'm not sure I understand.
Put it into waterfall. So it becomes one pot of money, right? So like say the sponsor gives us 10, 70, 30, right? The 10 goes directly to the investors because our waterfall is 10 return of capital, 80, 20. Mm-hmm. And then of the 70, or of the 30 promote that goes to the sponsor, they'll give us like, I don't know, some 15, 20, 25% of it. And then we put that into our waterfall. So it goes down all the way to them.
Got it. So they hit their preferred returns faster that way as well. So, okay. That's really interesting. I know all this is up for negotiation between you and the sponsor, and every deal is different. Certainly, I can't think of any deal I've done yet to date that was exactly the same as the one before it, but was just really curious how you guys established terms on that. That's really cool. What's it been like working a full-time, maybe I can rephrase that question. How have you effectively scaled this business and stayed on full-time as a medical professional? That sounds like just a lot of work.
It is. So I couldn't have done this without partners, right? So I have two other partners, both doctors, but actually both practice a little bit less than I do. And we hired people, right? We hired a project manager. We hired a director of investor relations. We have a couple of VAs that do a lot of data entry, social media, and so a lot of people are reluctant to hire more people, but I think it's important. And especially if they are able to help you get into more deals. Then it makes a lot of sense. So that plus I work nights, so I'm able to do a lot of stuff during the day, like this podcast, by working overnight.
Wow! All right, so you work all night and you work all day. When do you sleep? I guess is the
yeah. I sleep like 2 to 6 a.m. and 7 to 11 about.
Wow. That's wild. Wow, man. Good for you. That's a schedule that sounds grueling to me, but I guess if you're used to it, then you're used to it. Pranay, tell me this. What advice would you give if there's somebody out there looking to add members to their team? What's something you did in order to find the right people to bring on? Because I think that's a fear for a lot of us, myself included, is bringing on team members adds responsibility. Maybe they're not the right fit. Maybe they are the right fit. Man, now you got to find something for them to do all the time. How did you do that effectively?
Yeah, and I talked to Brandon Turner a couple months ago now about hiring. And he's hired a ton of people, and he said, just expect that half the people that you interview are gonna suck. And half the people that you hire are going to suck. All right. So if you go into knowing that, and it's not that they suck, it's just that they're not a good fit.
Right.
So if you know that you're going to have to experiment or try people out, then it's kind of different, right? You don't spend as much effort. People spend so much time and cognitive bandwidth on the hiring process. Mm-hmm. Just know that it's a trial, right? Just like you're trying different shirts on, or you're trying different lipstick, right. For the women out there. And you try it on, you get it, you use it for a week and you're like, yeah, this is not a thing for me. It reminds me of like the Casper bed, right? Get 100 nights to try it on. And so try to find, because people are going to like it's like I remember all the jobs that I was hired for that I was not even remotely qualified. So the big thing is, like, are they a good culture fit, and are they coachable to get to where you need to be, right? And it depends also what life cycle. Where's your business in the life cycle of a business, right? If you're in the beginning, you need generalists. Right? People that are willing to do everything. Like if you're probably under 5, definitely under 5, but probably under 10, you need people that are willing to pick up anything, any slack, and they don't have shame in doing what in medicine we call the scut work, like the stuff that just sucks, like having to go get coffee or call this person that just left an angry voicemail. This is when people are busy. And then, but if you're trying to get a specific goal in mind, then you need to hire someone that has done that, so for one of our companies, we tried to get a COO. And she hadn't worked for this specific business type in the past. And it just didn't work out because she didn't know how to scale the company up because it was a mostly digital company. Everyone was remote and she was used to doing something else. So if it's a leadership role, you kind of want to make sure that they've done the exact thing that you're looking for before.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I love that. And I like the idea that, I mean, it does suck that it is kind of like trying on shirts because there is, I like your phrase there, cognitive bandwidth that goes into bringing on a new team member. And then what if it doesn't work out and the disappointment of it and then retooling that and going out and then rehiring for that position. And that's a really frustrating process. And there are ways to kind of, I think, work around some of that, but then also just realizing that, like you said, half of it's just not going to work and getting used to that idea. But then the other half are going to be amazing. So
yes, exactly.
And
so you want to be open and willing to look at people.
Right.
I heard this thing recently. I forgot who said it, but don't have the person who has the need make the final decision on the hire. So if you need a marketing person, if you need a marketing analyst, for example, don't have the head of marketing make the final decision because they're going to feel the need, right? They're going to feel the burn and they're going to be more desperate. So the final decision is made by the CEO or someone else, engineering, or, someone that's related, but not necessarily their direct report. And I thought that was pretty interesting because you're going to be so in the weeds. You're like, okay, it doesn't matter. I need this person, and you're going to have that like bias, and it happens to all of us.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I like that. I like that a lot. Let somebody else that's not in the thick of it make the decision. That's pretty cool. Absolutely awesome. You've covered so much here with us today, from being a full-time doctor to now going out and raising huge amounts of capital. What's one success here that you guys have had recently, maybe that you didn't expect?
Yeah, so we're actually in a raise right now. It should close in the next day or two, and we pulled out all the stops, right? Because everyone's been telling us that it's such a hard market to raise money in. And, we were fully subscribed in a little bit over a week, which is pretty fast for us. We typically close in 2 weeks. So despite everything that's going on, we think we have a good product and a good story. So we're pretty excited about that.
When you say pulling out all the stops, what things come to mind?
Yeah, and I think this is important to make sure that you're always, between deals, that you're always building up your list and marketing channels. So, we marketed with different Facebook groups. We did a bunch of podcasts like this one. And we've just been really, really working on building up our list. We've probably grown like a 30% in the past, actually 50% in the past like 6 months, our email list.
Wow.
And that's in anticipation of the less people wanting to invest and the people who investing less.
Mm-hmm.
So, potentially we'd have 25% less money going into a deal. And so the goal was to 4x or the goal was to double our email list, and we'll probably be close to around 75%, so or 175%, so we're pretty happy with that.
Absolutely. No, that's cool. I love that. Absolutely love it. Pranay, thank you for taking the time here to come on the show today. This was an absolute pleasure learning from you, finding out how you have scaled your commercial real estate business. We never even got into what it is you guys are investing in. If you can just say that real quick, that way our listeners, if they want to get in touch with you and learn more about you, know what it is you're investing in. While you're on that, go ahead and tell them how to do that if you can.
Yeah, so we keep it very simple, where we do value add multifamily. We don't do development, we don't do self-storage, we don't do industrial. we don't chase what's hot. We just do simple. We believe that people will always need housing, and especially now that housing is single family homes are getting too expensive. We think we have a great product for most people. And so if you're interested, our website is ascentequitygroup.com. You could reach me directly at pranay@ascentequitygroup.com. And then I have a podcast where I talk all things about entrepreneurship. It's called From MD to Entrepreneur.
Fantastic. Pranay, thank you again for your time today. I certainly appreciate it.
Thanks, Sam. Have fun.